Good morning, my dear brothers and sisters. Judy Garland has this beautiful and romantic Valentine expression. For it was not into my ear you whispered, but into my heart. It was not my lips you kissed, but my soul. So, words of love are not only sweet to the ears, music to the ears, but also music to the heart. It also touches the heart. A kiss does not only touch the lips, but it also penetrates deep down into the soul. It touches the heart. And if this is true, the other side of the coin must also be true. When the ear does not receive a message of love, the heart consequently becomes empty. When the physical body does not sense or does not receive any message of love, the soul consequently becomes empty as well. And we can probably understand how the man in the gospel today, this man born deaf, feels. He was born deaf, and perhaps in his entire life, he had not heard any single sound yet. He had not received any voice that carries love with it. So his heart perhaps was empty, or perhaps lacking in love. Something was missing in his heart. And consequently, he had nothing to express. He could not express his love, or he had no love at all to express. So the separation from the world was by default. Imagine how this man's world was like. He had a fully functioning mind, but he could not verbalize his thoughts. He had a fully functioning soul, but he could not verbalize his affections. Imagine how this man's soul, how sad this man's soul could get. He could see that something is going on out there, but he could not be part of it. He could see people talking, laughing by observing their lips, the movement or their lips, but he could not join in the conversation. This deaf man was locked up inside his own world, a prisoner by default, a prisoner by circumstance. And Jesus knew this. So when this man was taken to him, what did he do first? He took him off by himself, away from the crowd. Here is the most tender considerateness. Deaf are always a little embarrassed. In some ways, it is more embarrassing to be deaf than it is to be blind. And Jesus showed the most tender consideration for the feelings of this man, for whom life was very difficult. He took him aside so they could have a private moment. Then Jesus put his hands in the man's ears and touched his tongue with spittle. Then he looked up to heaven to show that it was from God that help was to come. Then he spoke the word ephata, which means be opened, and this man was immediately healed. Be open. These were probably in the man's ears a good news. These were probably the first words that this blind man or this deaf man heard. And these were exactly the same good news that he had waited for so long. To be open is good news for him. From being locked up inside his own world, now the door is opened for him. From living in a world that was closed to the rest, now the door is opened for him. Friends, perhaps it is best to examine the things that lock us up from the rest of the world, that which separates us from the world, from others. We examine our own deafness, not our physical deafness, but the deafness of our hearts. We examine and we come close to Jesus and we allow Him to heal us. Jesus wants to touch you. He wants to heal you. He wants to tell you, be opened. But don't worry, He will deal with you with the most considerate tenderness as He did to this man. For His love is for all, the same for all, for this man, for you, and for me. Amen.